Okay. What's going on, YouTube? This is PC, and today on Gamers Passion, we have two very special guests. We have one returning and one new guest, and the returning guest is SuperHighTechGamer, also known as Jared online. Say hello.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing, man? How's everyone doing?
Cool, cool. And our special guest today is Sal, aka Mr. NeoGeoman himself. Say hello.
Hey, what's going on, YouTube?
And today's episode is basically going to be about just our love for the Neo Geo and how it influenced us basically as gamers. And why was the Neo Geo so special? Because these two have a lot of experience with it. While me, I do have some experience with it, but I don't have as much as them. So I could definitely learn some stuff from them today. And I figured that you guys could too. So we'll just start off by doing intros and channel information if you guys don't know who these guys are, because they're really cool. So we'll go first with Sal. Just tell us about your channel and what do you think about the Neo Geo? Why do you love it so much?
All right, well, like I said, you can tell by my username that there's no mistake that I have a passion for SNK and Neo Geo. I would have to say the old SNK. But yes, my channel is dedicated to everything SNK or Neo Geo, and I have a deep passion for it because it's one of those systems that was ahead of its time. Unfortunately, the price tag was ahead of its time by the same token. But I keep my channel dedicated to it because while I'm being on YouTube and just checking out channels for years, there was never one dedicated channel to it. And I figured that's why I started my channel, is to give Neo Geo that love and dedicate to just that particular system, while I still collect for other systems and had the 16-bit consoles and all that other stuff in the past. It's just that passion, that love for it that needs to be deserved, and that's why I do it.
All right, that sounds wonderful, man. It sounds really cool. All right, Jared, please tell us about your channel and why do you love Neo Geo?
Well, I love the Neo Geo so much is because it's a big part of my growing up and my arcade history, definitely. And I remember seeing it in the stores back in the day, back in the old software, etceteras and Babbages, and just seeing it, and it was just so mesmerized that you can, buy a machine, you can purchase something like this, and just be able to take it home and have the same exact graphics and sound of the arcade, which at that time was unfathomable. It was like really out of, like Sal said, kind of ahead of its time. It was a big deal. It was a big deal, and to afford something like that was just it was no way. It was way out of reach. So it was just one of those things you had, just like, being a kid, you can't afford it, but you still want it. So that was kind of like my little history with it. And I want to share that with you guys on YouTube and just my love for arcades and SNK in general.
Okay. Now, as someone who's just getting into retro gaming, some of the younger guys, would you consider the Neo Geo AES system or MVS or CMVS, which is a consoleized MVS? Would you consider that to be like the Ferrari of game systems, like that must-have Holy Grail item?
I don't know who wants to take it, but
go ahead, Sal. Go ahead.
Do I take it?
Anybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Basically, yeah. Because the reason why I consider it the Ferrari of this, because, like I said, I said it before, because it was ahead of its time. And the problem though is that it is the Ferrari system, but here's the thing people have to look at. You really got to like fighting games, because I'd say at least about, and Jared might correct me if I'm wrong, at least about 70% of the games that are on there are fighting games. And the thing is that while graphically and, and the peripherals that were for the joysticks and things like that were really ahead of its time, the problem though is it is a collector's item, and it's definitely the Ferrari, but you still got to like fighting games, because that's the majority of the system. So if you're not really into fighting games, you're probably not going to really enjoy the system as much, even though there's a handful of shooters and puzzles and stuff like that. The majority of that system caters towards the fighting games because in the time it came out, that's what was really popular. So it's one of those touch and go things.
Okay, but it did have other titles like
absolutely,
sports and stuff like that.
Absolutely, but the majority of it is comprised of fighting games. So you'd still have to have like some type of like or interest towards fighting games because otherwise it's kind of a little hard to get into unless you only want specific games for it, only like a handful of games for it. That's the only thing that's kind of like the drawback to this. Like I feel is the only drawback to the system.
Okay, well, I have a question for both of you guys, and I'll split it up in two parts. Sal, when you were growing up and Neo Geo was a part of your life, how big was certain games, like how Capcom had Street Fighter and Acclaim had Mortal Kombat? If you can bring out two big games, well, I'll just say one for you and then one for Jared. One big game for you that basically put the stamp on SNK Neo Geo being a part of your gaming legacy. What would that one game be for you?
I would probably have to say, believe it or not, would have to be probably the King of Fighters 94 because while Samurai Showdown 1 and 2 and all that were really excellent titles, I think that was the game that really influenced me, to be honest with you, that said that, like, I'd sell my soul or my left kidney or my nutsack to get that system because it was, at that point, like, it was unbelievable because the creativity that was put into the game, the passion for it, and to make something totally different and separate from what was already out there, like the 3-on-3, the teams, the crossover concept. That was the beginning of that. Like I started really wanting the system and really started taking it seriously.
Okay. So, now, would you consider basically that being the grandfather of all the cross versus games, since that was kind of like the first one? Like it influenced the Marvels and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say as far as a real game itself, yeah. As far as actually being a true crossover, yeah, because it's the first game to actually feature, even though they were SNK's intellectual properties, rather than what Capcom was doing with Marvel and all that other nonsense they were doing. They used their own properties, created a couple new characters, just to fill out for us. I think just the whole presentation, just everything about the game just oozed quality, and it was just unlike what we've seen before. And another thing too is it's not even just so much things; it's just so much innovation it brought. So that is the granddaddy of the crossover series. So I'm going to say, yeah, that was it was a huge influence, not only in the arcade, but even Capcom, had to stand back and was kind of a little shaken in the fucking boots and shit because they realized.
Oh, sorry. It's feedback. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right. But yeah, it made Capcom a little nervous. So yeah, it's the granddaddy. Absolutely.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, Jared, same question to you.
Okay. I enjoyed hearing him talk about King of Fighters 94 because I'm just as passionate about that game. But one thing, just take you guys back, to the early 90s and how big Street Fighter 2 was in the arcades. I mean, it was just a phenomenon. It was incredible, and I think all the manufacturers wanted to get a piece of that. They wanted to get a piece of that action. So SNK and Alpha Denchi, they brought out Fatal Fury, World Heroes, and also Art of Fighting to kind of, get into that, and get a chunk of change. And they got a lot of my change. I played the hell out of all those games. But yeah, for me, I would say, Jose and Sal, that it was Samurai Showdown, because Samurai Showdown 1 it came out, and basically it was going up against, I believe, Sal could probably correct me, but Super Street Fighter, which was kind of like a long-awaited update to Street Fighter Hyper Fighting, which was to me the gold standard.
Right.
It was the gold standard. And and I remember everyone was playing Super Street Fighter and had 4 more characters, and it was a little bit more refined. But Samurai Showdown just had this flash, it had this style. It was awesome. I mean, like, really, that kind of you never really see anything like that with the weapons fighting and great colorful graphics. It was great. Samurai Showdown was big, and I remember even casual people who never really played the MVS in the arcade would play Samurai Showdown. So I'll go with that one.
Okay, now wasn't that the first game to introduce basically when 2 weapons clash, you have to do basically a guard when you mash the button, correct? To disarm.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And plus, and one thing that blew me away too was back with Galford and Nakaru. They had these pets. These side. The ninja had a dog, and when I saw Galford with a dog, I was like, wow, that's really cool. Mm-hmm. So you had weapons, and you had. It was different. It stood out. It stood up against anything that was out there. And that made me really want to. I really want the home machine then. And I remember that there were guys who were serious about, going back and seeing if they could find their Neo Geo that they sold, or because it's like, wow, this is really cool, and it's a great series, along with a lot of other legacy fighting games, 2D fighters. So I'll say that.
All right, very cool, very cool. Now, I know since you guys, I've seen both of you guys' videos on your collection. I mean, you guys have some of the best collections out there.
Thank you.
Overall, and I hope you guys really take that as a compliment, because sometimes, I'll go back, I'll go back and I'll watch the video just to see, which ones I might have missed or which ones that's on my list to get. Because usually I'll have a list throughout the year of games I have to get, and there's some Neo Geo titles on there that you guys have, and so. As far as that goes, you guys are the shit, basically. You guys got some real nice stuff.
I truly appreciate that, because that's one of the things that when like I was talking to Jared, when I started getting to know Jared, I was like, "Show your collection off," and then he started showing off his collection. I was like, "Damn." I was like, I need to break into his house and steal some of his shit, because I don't have some of them games.
Believe me,
I was like, you better watch yourself. You better make sure you don't sleep at night, because he had some really fantastic titles. He really did, and I'm glad he actually showed his stuff. And it's not bragging stuff. It's stuff that we're passionate about, and we really enjoy, and we hope that influences you. Like I know. Jose, you asked me about, I think, Metal Slug 3. Yeah. You actually purchased the game?
I plan on to, but as of right now, since most of the used games is funneled through eBay, a AES version is about $700 right now.
Okay. Because I know you were interested in it. That's the reason why. I know it's like, I wasn't sure if you actually got it. But I appreciate the content. I enjoy looking at Derek's collection. I like looking at yours. It's just a real... awesome thing to see and actually see people who actually still have the interest and still collect for it, because like I was talking to Derek saying that I never knew anybody by the Neo Geo. Never.
Yeah, me either.
It's
you're right. Yep. I never knew anyone.
I just had to say, Jose, you know what? Because, we're on this big wide world of YouTube, and you mentioned you're talking about my collection. I don't really think my collection is really all that great. There's always someone who has better stuff. Always, it's always going to be that. But I wanted to ask you, what made you? I know you have an AES. What made you want to purchase it? I mean, was there a particular game? I know you like fighting games, but what was it that made you want to get into Neo Geo?
Well, I mean, actually, before I got one, I want to say maybe about 4 years ago, and back then I wasn't making videos on YouTube. I was just watching and really interested, in other people's stuff. And I happened to go into a game shop, and I seen one with 9 games, AES box, and I just fucking flipped out, because I never seen one in my life at any store, growing up or at all. And if I did see one, I can't remember. But I just remember I remember seeing the Red arcade, the MVS at a Pizza Hut and laundry mats all day, and I would play them. And I seen it for $300 with 9 games in the box. I was like, man, I gotta do whatever the fuck I gotta do to get this, like right now.
Damn, I'd be dabbing motherfuckers for that.
I fucking raced home. I grabbed like a whole bunch of stuff, and I came back to the game store, traded that shit in, and I got it. And I mean, I fucking slept with that thing for like a week. And
that thing would have been molested because that's incredible. I remember video actually. I think it was your video was something like I think you had a Saturn or something, and it was. I remember the video because it's been a while. That's why I was like, when you came back, like you started actually making like more videos.
Yeah.
But I remember your old video that you had a while back saying the Saturn is jealous of the Neo Geo or something along that line.
Oh yeah. I mean, out of all my systems, and believe me, I love my Sega Saturn. But that Neo Geo, that just I'm actually looking at it right now. It's so like mysterious and mythical. It's kind of like a piece of art almost. Even though the thing is big and black and it just looks like it's empowering. I don't know. It looks fucking phenomenal.
Yep. And that's the way I felt about it back in the day, Jose. You guys, it was like, I remember just seeing the box and just in Babbage's, they used to have it behind the counter with the games, the big old, the big cases, and they didn't have snap cases then. Man, just looking at that wall, just drooling and just seeing all the things that it can do, it just looks so badass. But it's like, man, I'm never gonna get that thing.
Yeah, it's just, it was always one of those things to where it was just like, man, like I'll never be able to get one. If I do, I'm gonna have to put my fucking car up to buy it and the games, that type of shit. But I mean, I just happened to find it for a real good deal, and I was so happy, man, so happy to get it. And
$300, damn,
yeah,
that is a fucking deal, man. That would have been worth, a criminal activity for that.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, I had to act fast, man. I mean, I was.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've seen it, right? I seen it, and then I had it by the end of the hour. I mean, that's a trip home and a trip back. So that shit was mine, and I love it, man. I mean, I play it every day. I play, you know what? I play my retro games way more than I play my new stuff.
No, that's the same here. Like, I just got rid of my Xbox 360 because I had that shit sitting in my stand. I was like, what am I doing with this? I'm like, I had it for a couple of years. I only had maybe like 5-7 games. So I was like, this has got to go.
Yeah.
And PS3, I only keep it around basically as just a glorified Blu-ray DVD player at this stage because everything is concentrated on a PS2 or the Neo Geo stuff. So it's all I'm playing. I'm compared to these kids nowadays, I feel like a fucking dinosaur. Like, they're playing all this bullshit, and I'm still stuck with like almost like Pac-Man compared to what they're playing nowadays. So, they're timeless games. They never go out of style. You can look at a Neo Geo game, some games, some of them might not age that great, but you look at it like your Samurai Showdown 4 when you put up that video on it, it looks timeless.
Yeah, it looks so good, man.
The colors on it, the animation, it's like art in motion, and you can never get that back. It's just every time I look at it, I'm like, it just for some reason it just never gets old looking. They age. It's like that's the old thing of they age with grace. It's like wine. That's like Neo Geo games are. They look badass when they come out, but they age so well, and that's what's holding up their value because it's not like a Super Nintendo game. I can plug it in Super. Not nothing against it, but I play. I'm like, man, this is old as shit, and you can tell it's so dated. Whereas Neo Geo stuff, you're like, it's kind of hard to tell because it just hold up so well, and there's a price. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, like for example, like if you guys are watching this right now and you don't really know about any of this Neo Geo stuff, I'll give you some examples of some of the best looking games for the system, and I'm sure that they'll agree with me. Number 1, Last Blade 1 and 2. Yeah. I mean, it looks like a portrait, and Fatal Fury, Mark of the Wolves.
Okay.
and just about any Metal Slug game.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Metal Slug 3 anyway, but yeah, I'm going to have to agree with that. And what's funny is the Last Blade stuff is coming at, and especially regarding Mark the Wolves, even Jared will be like, that stuff was like almost I was at the end of the lifespan of the system, where the system was going into the gigapower, and they were using all sorts of trickery to get more mags out of the carts and things like that, and it really showed that how much at the end of the lifespan of the system, what they were pushing and what really they were getting out of the system, and it was a lot. So I'm going to have to agree with that list.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely that. Beautiful animation and artwork, 2D style, and that's one thing. I'm a 2D lover. I love sprites, and that's just the way it was for me. And I kind of, it was kind of hard to play 2D games during the 90s with the PlayStation and the Saturn because, we didn't really get a whole lot of good 2D fighters. You really had to go import. And yeah, those graphics are timeless. And I remember, like when Sal was talking about the Gigapower, I remember when the boot up screen, the bio screen, when it said max 330, I thought that was huge. And now, they had to go beyond that, and because the games were getting larger and there's more info, and they had to compete with what was out in the arcade. So, but yeah, right. Mark of the Wolves and all those games have fantastic animation, still hold up.
Okay, now since you guys have been collecting, for years, can you guys individually just tell us basically how was it collecting for the Neo Geo? To actually get your collection up to where it is now. And this is before eBay, before the internet really took off. How was it searching for those games, and what were some of the prices of these brand new games? And if you had to ask like your parents or somebody else for it, how would you come at that person to ask them for a $250 to $350 video game? Because me, I believe me, I had trouble asking my mother for a fucking $80 Super Nintendo game. So, so a $250 Neo Geo game was fucking out of the question.
Well, hey, Jose, I would have got slapped if I would have asked my parents. Literally, I wouldn't have dared to ask them to buy me anything like that. I would have just got slapped outright.
You would have got curb stomped. Boom. You know what? Actually, a lot of it, believe it or not, a little bit of some of it, believe it or not, I bought it myself because there was a point when I was done high school and I picked up some games for myself. But what I did is, in order to get the actual system itself, I sold all my stuff. So it isn't like I'm going up to my parents and like, yo, I want this right now. And then they turn around and laugh at me, turn back around and laugh at me again. But it was like, I'm going to sell my stuff. I'm going to put my foot forward and do my part by selling all the stuff. Now, sometimes, like if I did well in school or did something positive, which is rarely, the thing is that sometimes I might get like not like a 200 and something I gave, but maybe my parent might put out, if I put out, maybe towards like $100 and something game. But the most expensive game that I actually bought, I bought it myself through a couple little odd jobs that I had. And that was War Heroes Perfect. And I earned that by I was like a Nintendo, what do you call that? A Nintendo demonstrator that they used to have them in Toys R Us. I don't remember if you guys had them back in the day in Toys R Us when Nintendo was going through their Nintendo 64 or Ultra 64. Well, they used to have like a representative standing in the aisles and stuff with a vest and all this other flare bullshit, looking like a retard. You would stand there and guide the people to buy Nintendo, and that was in conjunction with Toys R Us. So Nintendo paid Toys R Us to have it, and I was lucky enough. I knew somebody got that job for the season. That's how I bought the game, because it was steadier and paid a little bit better than the actual Toys R Us, or whatever the hell, busboying or whatever the hell was out at the time. I was doing at the time. So I actually did buy that myself, believe it or not. Most of them I bought myself, believe it or not, after a certain point, because, it was just the way it is. I didn't have the nerve to ask. my parents to buy me 250 something games and all. It wasn't logical. And at that point, I had already gotten the Neo Geo CD, so the games were a lot cheaper.
Okay, now since you said that was the most expensive game that you bought, that you had bought, how much was the game, if you don't mind me asking, and how much does it go for today? Just so someone trying to collect can have an idea before they get into the AES, the CD, and the CMVS or MVS, which one they should really go for if they're trying to build a collection.
Okay. Well, the game cost me back in 1995 $250. I got it from it was a what do you call that? A bunch of little retro game stores that were located throughout my city of Philly, and I put down the deposit of $50, and I got it through them. Nowadays, that game, the United States version, I had the mint condition go over about $1,000.
Wow.
And yeah,
wow.
It goes. I had a guy in Italy offer me quite a bit of money for it, because the United States versions at that point were becoming rare because they were more popular in Japan than they were here. So in Japan, they might release maybe 1,000 or so. Here, they were only releasing a few hundred. So because a few hundred is making them uncommon, rare, or whatever term you want to deem, that's why they go for so much. And now, for the end, I would never recommend AES to anybody. To be honest with you, I'm going to be straight up honest. I would never recommend, unless you have disposable income, or you got a rich daddy or something that has that type of money. The MVS is the best way to go as far as the consolized versions, or you can even spring for the wooden ones that Analog has, or the plastic version of the Omega, because you're going to get games that are going to range anywhere from $30 to be honest, there are some that go up to the hundreds, but it's the cheaper, better alternative. I cannot recommend an AES unless you really have the cash to put out for it, because you're going to just be disappointed, broke, busted, disgusted trying to get all the games and stuff that you want. So MVS is always the way to go, in my opinion.
Okay. Can I add something to Sal? What you're saying is, with the AES, that's how you kind of got an AES back in the day, because someone would go out, they'd buy it, and they'd buy King of Monsters, and then they'd buy baseball stars, and they're already down the whole $400, and those games were cool, and they're going to last you for a little bit, but even those games are going to get boring, and guess what? The guy's going to sell it in the newspaper, and that's the way a lot of people got there, like me, would get an AES system, is because, person buys it, they shell all that money out for it, they buy a couple, maybe one game, maybe two games, and then they're bored of it already, so, yeah.
Man. Okay. Jared, how was it for you trying to collect games, the Neo Geo games, growing up?
It's funny, just like Sal, I had to sell my soul, man. I had a Sega CD, I had a Sega Genesis at the time, probably in the 90s. I was working at a game store back then, and I went to this little mom and pop little shop, and this guy had his own game shop, and he had a Neo Geo and NOM 75 just sitting in a cardboard box. And I just saw it, and I said, hey, look, I'll trade you every game that I have, all my Sega Genesis games, my Sega CD system, and my Sega CD games for that thing right there. And he was like, okay. So nice. I rushed home just like Jose, got in the car, went back to the I grabbed all my systems. Oh, yeah. Came back to the guy. He was happy. He was like, are you serious? You really want to do this? I'm like, hell yeah, I do. So I got, and it was in very good condition. I had NOM 75. That was my first game, so that's in my heart. So I took that bad boy home, and I think the next week he had a World Heroes 2. I bought it for about $90 off of him, and I just kind of grew my collection from there. It was always rumors. A buddy would call me up and say, "Hey, so and so, this guys got Neo Geo games for sale, and I drive. I mean, I'm in Southern Cali. I would drive to like L.A. I would drive anywhere that I heard that they had a cartridge, and I could afford it at the time. But just real quick, the first game I ever bought brand new was Samurai Showdown 2. And oh man, it was only out like 2 or 3 months. Remember that, Sal, when that game hit? Yeah.
Sweet. That is sweet.
Yeah, and I had ordered it. I ordered it online, and the funny thing, I was living at home. You know, I was like maybe just right out of high school, and I had to be secretive about it because my dad was there. And if he would have known, I paid $200 cash for a video game. To you guys, it would have been over.
Yeah.
It would have been over. So I had to kind of answer the phone. Yeah, so I had to wait the FedEx guy, because back then you can mail order AES games. Back, answer the door when the FedEx guy came, and I had to hurry up. I had my cash. I had like $200 in my hand, and I had to hurry up, and I had to let my dad know. Yeah, and so I gave the money, and I took my game to my room, and it was on. So.
Okay.
It sounds like an addict and shit, like you're stealing crackers, you know?
Yeah, you're fucking looking out for the cops. Yeah, you're fucking like, hey, try to get this shit off.
Yep.
All right, cool, man. Well, how do you guys, since you guys had experience with the authentic games, both of you guys are very expertise in that, I would say. How do you guys feel about ports of the SNK games? Because because SNK, is still around in some way, shape, or form, and they put out collections and port stuff to PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo systems and stuff like that. If there was some type of ports that you would recommend for people, what would be some good ones? I know Jared.
I gotta recommend one.
I
gotta recommend one. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, because I mean, I know you're very adamant about having a near arcade perfect. So share some.
Okay, I'll just start this one first. This one just jumped in my mind quick. You got a Sega Saturn, and you want the perfect version of King of Fighters 95. You get the Sega Saturn version with its own RAM card, which is own specialized RAM cartridge for that one game. That is the best port of King of Fighters 95 I know of outside the Neo Geo. Period. That's one that really shines through for me. What do you think, Sal?
To be honest with you, like, okay, the Saturn port's pretty good, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna just be honest with you and say, really, I think all the ports are actually pretty good. I think the poorest port I think I've owned would probably be the Orochi Saga for the PS2, because it had poor emulation in it. But the game itself, the games ran fine. It was just soundness and graphical issues. But in all reality, I'm going to be fair and say all the ports are good, because you know why? It's giving somebody who's never played these games an opportunity to play them. And I can't really say, because I can't recommend. I think some of the best ports are actually, to my mind, the Fatal Fury ports, the what you call a Battle Archive.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
1 and 2, and the Art of Fighting 1. But in all reality, the best one to start out with is the Volume 1, SNK Volume 1. Why they never came out with 2? Oh, and I don't have a clue. Now, even though Volume 1 isn't arcade perfect, I think it's the best place to start out, because it gives you an introduction to some of the games and gives you an idea of what was going on back then. So honestly, I think all the ports are good. They're just there as a basic idea rather than perfect ports or anything like that. So I think there are some good ones, but I can't say the best one, to be honest with you. I think they're all good in some way, shape, or form and all, but some are translated a little bit better. So it's like a half-ass answer, I guess you could say. All
right, I mean, that's cool. Okay, now this one's coming from a fighting game junkie like myself. Okay, I'm asking you guys, as far as SNK goes, was there like a tradition or like a fucking they always had a conference at SNK when it came to fighting games about fucking cheap bosses? Was that like a standard in fighting games? Because I don't know if you guys have ever played. I mean, I'm sure you guys. I know both of you guys own this game, and I think you know what I'm talking about. This fucker named Gantz, who shoots tornadoes at you all fucking day and kills you like in fucking 2 moves. Yeah, he's the cheapest fucking boss ever.
To be honest with you, I'm gonna be straight up honest. I never had a problem with him. You know who I always had a problem with? Rugal. Omega Rugal was always the one who fucking hits the shit out of me. I mean, seriously, but to be honest with you, actually going back to your original question, I have no clue why they make them. So I think, you know what I think it honestly is? And it comes down to, they want more quarters out of you. Okay. I think it comes down to just, because if you look at most of the SNK games, and Jared would definitely back me up on it, a lot of them were cheap ass, difficult, and they were quarter monsters. So that's why I think they made the bosses so damn difficult, because the attitude, they wanted you to keep popping money into that machine. So this way, you got yours, they got theirs, type of thing. But I think that just comes down to dollars and cents, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah, difficulty. Sometimes people call it the SNK boss syndrome.
Yeah.
And, oh my god, you know one thing about Neo Geo games for me, because I played them in the arcades, my buddies have played them, it's almost like you kind of have to exert your will over them to beat them. Seriously. I mean, just play Art of Fighting 2. That is the most incredibly difficult game. And I play fighting games just like you guys, and I can't tell you the AI in that is so ridiculous, you know. And that's not even the bosses. I haven't gotten to the bosses yet. But there's crazy. Yeah, I think it is. Well, I think a good fighting game, you know, they'll give you the first round. Okay, they might get a little bit harder on the second round. By the third round, I think on most Neo Geo games, most MVS games on level 4, they're trying to get you off the machine.
Yeah, yeah. They're fucking hair-pulling and frustrating difficult. I mean, it's fucking sick. Okay.
It will make you violent. Seriously, it's how difficult and bosses. Seriously, it will make you violent as shit, because you be chucking controllers and get into turrets and everything. I mean, seriously, you will. That's how frustrating it is. But like I said, it just comes down to us. Like, even the fighting games, I think the easiest boss, maybe even Jared probably backed me up when it was probably King of Fighters 97, the last guy I wrote. I think he has to be the easiest. I think personally, I don't know if you agree, Jared, but I think he's just the easiest boss, SNK, as far as King of Fighters. Everybody else is just, you'd be like hours of God to beat him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Try the last boss of King of Fighters 2001. Not only do you have to beat holy shit.
I've gotten lucky a couple times, and that's it. Luck. Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, let me see. Okay. How about this? Around 2000, around 2000, 1999, 2000, 2001, the original SNK went under, and SNK, you know, it was a very hard time for a lot of SNK fans. What were you guys' feelings about the downfall of the original SNK until it be, I guess, reborn as SNK Playmore? How do you feel about that? You know, right now.
To be honest with you, the only thing that's sad about the downfall is they lost most of their artists. And most of their artists went to Capcom or to Namco. But in all reality, their downfall was their own. It's like the old saying, you are your own worst enemy. That's who they were. SNK, the old SNK, went through about 6-7 management teams. They could not manage worth a shit. I mean, they couldn't break themselves way out of a paper bag. That's how bad they were. And the shame is quality dropped off. You can tell from about 2000 on, when they delivered everything to ELF and all them other type stuff. But in reality, I felt sad, but by the same token, I'm glad they recovered and we still have them, but unfortunately, they're not the SNK. They're just, to me, I just look at them as they're just out there. Like, I don't even consider them like Sega even, because Sega at least is still producing stuff to some extent. SNK, for some reason, is just taking, sitting in the back room somewhere, just smoking a joint or something, just doing anything. And
yeah, think about Aruze. Aruze, once they acquired SNK, and Aruze, their primary business is pachinko, and that's where their focus for their SNK operations kind of went. And intellectual properties go to pachinko machines and stupid.
Right.
Right now they can. I mean, if you look at like the King of Fighters 13 on the new systems on the Xbox, which I think is entirely excellent. Why is SNK remaking all their old franchises like The Last Blade and Samurai Showdown with that style and quality? Dude, they would be right up there again. But just like Sal said, they're not managing themselves well at all.
Absolutely. And to further say, like, Aruze, who actually threw them into bankruptcy, and a lot of the what the way I look at it is SNK, like I said, their own worst enemy, is because they only focused on the arcades. And the problem, though, is they didn't realize is that the arcades exist here in the United States. They were just a fad or a phase for us. Over in Japan, it's a way of life. Here, it's just like a pastime for people. And putting all your chips onto one thing, in a lot of ways, a lot of people say is idiotic. And that's where they did wrong. Whereas Capcom did arcades, but they did home ports. They did original ports. They were versatile, and that's what made them stick around a bit longer and have more of their name out there, whereas SNK was only in the arcades, and that's why a lot of the younger generations don't know who the hell they are, because they only stuck there and never left. It's just like it's somebody who's stuck in it like a time warp, and that was the problem. You have to grow and progress as the time's changing, because if you don't, you regress, it's going to hurt your pockets, and that's what it did.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Excellent point. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay. Now, I know both of you guys have mentioned in past videos of games that suffered because of the lack of quality, and just SNK didn't know what the fuck they were doing at the time. They just couldn't get their shit together. Now, just for the record, I want you guys just to state your final opinions about these games, and it's one for both of you guys. So, Sal, just talk a little bit about your frustration and why you just really, I guess, kind of just don't like the game of Samurai Showdown 5.
Okay, the reason why is that because I have no problem with the fact that they wanted to resurrect the series. That's fine. That's nice and dandy and all that. But the problem that is that they played cash cow. What they did is they're like, okay, Samurai Showdown 5 Samurai Showdown itself is a very recognizable, very popular, very revered series.
Just as big as Street Fighter.
What they did was that they, instead of trying to move the game forward, they moved that shit backwards. Like, they took out animation, they took out the fatalities. They didn't add anything new or innovative to the story. It was just like they rehashed some shit, threw it together, but made it worse than the previous title. How does a game get worse than its previous title? And to me, that's where, and like you've seen my video like a while ago, somebody asked me to do that. I stated, I don't have a problem if you want to use the character sprites or use the same backgrounds. Fine, I'll give you that. But that you're not moving forward. There was no progression in the game, and it was just meant to just see, okay, maybe we'll get a couple dollars out of this game. And that frustrated me because that's just capitalizing on the success of the series and not giving you two shits about your fans. And that's where it frustrated me. It's like, they basically said, they'll play it anyway. Who gives a shit about them? They're like fucking sheep or lemmings. They'll just flock to it regardless. Just put some Samurai Showdown on it. It could be fucking, it could be Pong. They don't give a shit. So that's where my frustration came, is because they gave the I don't give a shit attitude towards the consumers.
Now, in that game, just for the record, you can do, in previous titles, you can do like fatalities, basically special enders. In that one, you can't do that at all, correct?
You can't do any. In Samurai Showdown 4, to me, was where the series really, I'd say maybe kind of evolved but kind of stopped. It was because not only did they fix a lot of the issues with the previous title, Samurai Shodown 3, they had the fatalities, and they had this like the kind of like Mortal Kombat type fatalities, where you can do the motions.
Yeah.
And they added something interesting where they had the suicides, where you can actually kill your character off, which is kind of like morbidly kind of gruesome, but it's kind of cool at the same time, showing how violent the game is and actually feeling like a real Japanese experience. And that's something that game brought. And that's why it did pretty well. And I really like that game a lot because they tried to put something innovative on it. They tried to do something with the series. And when they did that, that's what made that game and it had a different feel compared to the previous title. So I think it was an excellent effort. But whereas 5, it took the majority of what made 4 great and gotten rid of it. So it was just like, it was like a shell of a game. Adding characters does not make a game. Gameplay makes a game a game. And then those little touches just for like the icing on that cake. That shit was missing. Cake, icing, ice cream, that shit. That motherfucker was still ingredient. That motherfucker was still ingredients on the table. I'm like, damn, they were too lazy to put that shit in the oven. Mix the batter. I mean, it was like, you know what? Man, don't eat that sugar right out the fucking bag. I'm like, damn. But that's really how I feel. It's just, it's a lazy effort and a poor choice for them. But, that's just my opinion on it. So I'm not here to dissuade anybody or say, whatever, because it's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, I guess it was the your opinion. A lot of other fans felt that same way because, I mean, later on, we got Samurai Shodown 5 Special, which basically corrected all that shit that you were just talking about.
What they did, absolutely, it corrected everything, and now truly, it wasn't a new game, and I kind of diss Samurai Shodown 5 Special because it didn't add anything really new or innovative to the series. It just corrected what was wrong, and to me, that's kind of goofy because it's like, why did you need a correction? I mean, it's just like, they figure they can wipe that shit out and just put another game out, which is, it's a good game. I like it, but I just feel, and what's funny, and I'm going to even put this little fun little fact, that wasn't supposed to be the final edition. There was supposed to be another one called Samurai Shodown 5 Final Edition. So there was supposed to be an upgrade to Special, but it never came to fruition because at the point they were like, yo, this machine or this hardware is so old. I mean, this shit is walking with Moses. That's how old that shit was. And it wasn't worth the time or effort to put out these games because the arcades, for the most part, and all were, well, at least here in the States and a couple other countries, were pretty much like, they were ghost towns. They were even non-existent at that. So that wasn't actually to be the final version, but it just wound up being it because they're like, we tired of this shit. Let's move on to the Thomas Wayne stuff and, put this shit to like, put it in the casket and just let it die type of thing. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Jared, I've known from one of your videos that you have some harsh feelings about a certain game, and if I'm wrong, please correct me. But KOF 2001.
Oh my God!
See, because wait, because to me,
don't you say no bad.
I mean, because to me, KOF 2001 is not that bad. I was actually thinking about buying it because I seen it a Japanese version off eBay, complete for maybe about $90. So warn me about what I'm getting myself into before I make that move.
Wow, it's not really the actual game. I mean, the game is not unsalvageable, but I'm a longtime Neo Geo fan, and Sal's a longtime Neo Geo fan, and it's just that wow factor. Like you put in a game like when I first put in Samurai Shodown 2, I was just like, wow, this is so incredible. Everything, every facet of the game was just gorgeous, sounded great, looked great, and that's Neo Geo to me. That's what it is. Even though it's like a 20-year-old system, it's still just the gorgeousness, and the graphics, and how that and especially the sound. And I think this is where we're going to go and get into. I put in 2001, and I ordered it. I paid full pop for this game, and I put it in, and I saw the screenshots already. I don't have any problems with the sprites or the backgrounds, but that music, I think, wow. I mean, it's just the music in that is just not even in the. Shouldn't even be on. I don't think that deserves to be an AS card. I mean, the sound is just horrendous. That game, just play it, listen to the music, and compare it to the music from the past KOF games, and it's inexcusable, man. It's just inexcusable. So that was my thing, and I was kind of pissed because I paid like over $300 for that game back in the day. I think from the Neo store, and I was just like, wow, And I remember my friends that came over and said, "Hey, I got the new 2001." They were just like, "What's going on, dude?" Just like, what happened, you know? And I felt kind of ashamed. I was like,
you got gagged on that one.
yeah, I was like, man, this kind of not really all that good. And then I took another chance, and I bought 2002, and it was a little bit better. A lot of people critically, that game gets a lot of props, and I think that's okay. But I don't know, Jose. It's just I wouldn't recommend buying that on cartridge. I would do yourself a favor, just find get a good port like on, if you just want to play it on like the PS2 or, that's what I would recommend. I wouldn't recommend paying for the card. That's just my opinion.
If you don't mind if I chime in.
Go ahead.
Good.
Now, I agree with Jared, though. Music is piss poor. It's like horrendous porno music. It's just like, I don't know what they were thinking. Maybe they were all like, you know, like, they were all probably high and fucked up or something. They made music. And the other thing that's kind of weird about the game is the character portraits. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. It looks like something out of a Picasso painting. It's all like fucked up, and it's the style of the portraits are just goofy. I don't know what they were trying to go for, create. Maybe they're trying to have like a different style. But the game itself, the only thing that really it has like the graphics seem a little tad more grainy and or a little darker shaded, because most of the King of Fighters games are very colorful, very bright.
Yeah, exactly. And I have that same problem with 2002 as well, and SNK Capcom. It's just it's like they kind of rendered the backgrounds on like a higher end system, and then they kind of just dittered them down, I guess, for the the color palette for the Neo Geo. It just doesn't work, man. It's just real muddy, and it just doesn't look good. So I don't know. SNK played more when it came to the cartridge system towards the end of his life. It just doesn't. Those games just don't have the polish overall of the old SNK.
Yeah, because you know what it was? They were kind of working with because when they like kind of passed it off to ELF, they kind of had like a skeleton crew working on, because at that point SNK was kind of like in like what do you call that? Like in a dysfunctional state. So they're like, oh, Bubble, fuck the fuck up, and they were like, here, we need to hold these properties. Can you make these games and stuff? And that's the problem, because there was no real oversee these games. It was just bringing them out for the arcade and coinage, you know. But you know what? To be honest with you, I'm gonna tell you something though. Even though my gripes, you know, I still do not dislike Chaos 2001. I still play it. And I like the fact that you can actually have a team of 4, and your team of 4 is technically weaker because you have more characters, and then it uses a striker system. And I kind of like. I'm gonna tell you something. It's gonna sound kind of goofy. I dislike. I would take 2001 over 2000 any day.
That's
2000.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna be straight up fucking honest. You ever get into, let's say you're an employee working at a company that you know is going down the shitter, and you know you could possibly lose your job, and you got to get your resumes out and all that shit, and you're kind of contracted to make this game. Now, to be honest with you, are you going to really put your heart and soul into a game that you know that it could be your final game? So the way I kind of look at 2000, it's like, you know what? Yeah, let's make a game. We're going to lose our jobs. who gives a shit? There was some, little striker, some cutesy little, IP strikers in there, and basically fuck off. Because it was like one of them type of things, like, you're at your final day of your job, and you're just like, I ain't doing shit today, and I'll just go around telling my bosses that, it's like, ever seen the movie Half-Baked and shit, where he goes, fuck you, you're cool, fuck you, and you're out type of thing. That's the way that game came across with that team, I feel. There's nothing original or anything. It's groundbreaking with 2000. So I would take 01 over 2000 anyway, because 2000 came across as, I don't give a shit. I don't care. Here's a game. That's my personal feeling. I know Jared's probably going to be like, what? Did you smoke or something? No. Thing.
You know what? I never played 2000. That's the only KOF game I never played in the arcade. I never played 2000 in the arcade. I had to play that on AIM. I couldn't find that. It was never in the MBS around my area. So I kind of never really saw it. And just like you said, I mean, it was just kind of plain. I mean, if you're going to play KOF, I just recommend just playing 94 to 98. That's where you're going to have the most fun. That's where the soul of that series is between those years.
I feel the same way. Those are the ones that's on my radar. And then I was thinking about stretching and grabbing 2001 just to have one of those kind of later ones. Because that was, I think, the most affordable one as far as one of the later versions.
Yeah, there's a reason why it's affordable.
I know. You guys fucking hate it. I mean,
hate is a strong word.
I mean, but
you know what? That shit's cheap. That shit is shit. That's what
you see what I'm saying? But like for me, it's kind of confusing because it's like SNK like 2 years earlier from 2000. Like they come out with fucking Mark of the Wolves, literally probably like one of the best fighting games of all time, in the top 5 of all time. I mean, it's fucking crazy.
You got to remember something that was the old SNK. So
I mean, but I'm sure at the time. I mean, I'm sure at the time, the company knew that they had money problems or shit was probably about to go under, and they're like, fuck it. You know what? We're about to make the best fucking fighting game of all time. Our competition at the time was Street Fighter 3. That shit looks like a fucking cartoon almost. So we're about to make the same thing. Because basically what they did with Mark of the Wolves was they took out all the characters except for Terry. And in Street Fighter 3, they only left 3 of the returning class from old games, Ken, Ryu, and Chun-Li. And all the rest of the squad was new. So that was the direct competitor to the CPS3 engine was Mark of the Wolves.
Yeah.
And it just sucks that right after that game where you would think that, okay, they made Mark of the Wolves, so that shit's about to get nothing but better. And then they just fucking fall off so hard.
You know what the problem though is that, plus what the kind of goofy thing, if you notice though, why the hell would SNK make that shit Mark of the Wolves? Because everything else is Fatal Fury. I didn't even know what the hell it was. Until I saw Terry in there and I'm like, Rock. I'm like, is that the Rock I'm thinking about? That little kid? I was like, because I was thinking like the little kid that's kind of like Terry's little pedophilia type of thing going on. I'm like, that's the same guy? I didn't even know what the hell the game was. Because they didn't even market that shit. So actually, that game kind of fell into that type of obscurity in the arcades because nobody knew. I didn't know that it was part of the Fatal Fury series until I actually really looked into the game. I was like, oh, it's Fatal Fury. That's why, if you know, the Dreamcast version is called Fatal Fury.
Mark of the Wolves.
Mark of the Wolves. Because unless you knew Garou, because Garou was in Japan, it's like Garou Densetsu is Fatal Fury in Japan. I don't know what the hell that shit is. See, that's the problem with SNK. They got shit-ass marketing. Real shit-ass marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what?
I'm not trying to be funny, but
no.
It's just like, think about it. You got a product like Coke. Even Coke is 100 and something years old. They're still advertising shit. SNK is like, we think they'll get around through word of mouth or some tribal fucking, make some fucking smoke signals to put this out. I don't know what the hell they're thinking. But I didn't even know what the hell that game was. So, just, it's kind of hard. How do you make an outstanding fighting game and nobody knows what the hell it is?
You're right.
Until you investigate the game.
You are definitely right about that because, you know what? Growing up, I know you guys remember the Neo Geo Pocket. Okay?
I had one.
Okay, check this out. You had one, and one of my friends had one. And in fucking entire school, it was maybe about close to 700 people. He was the only person I knew that had one. Everyone else had like a fucking Game Boy Color, and no one fucking knew what that Neo Geo Pocket was at all.
Yeah, yeah. They relied on fucking like
word of mouth. They're fucking crazy.
You know why? Sorry to interrupt. But the problem is because marketing. That you got to advertise your shit. You know, because like I said, they got to rely shit on carrier pigeon or something. They just don't market, and I've never heard of anything like that. Because you know what beat Neo Geo Pocket Color? You want to be the honest? Pokemon. Pokemon kicked the shit out of Neo Geo Pocket Color. A little fucking Pikachu motherfucker kicked the shit out of fucking, Neo Geo Pocket Color. Because now if there would have been a Pokemon, but that's Nintendo's, kind of like their thing or franchise, it killed it. But I agree with you. Neo Geo Pocket Color, people now that are getting it are like, wow, like look at this.
How fucking good it was. Yeah. That I'm telling you, that has the best digital analog for any handheld ever made to me.
Mm-hmm.
That thing is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, you're right, PC, about that joystick. Yeah, the controls. One thing, that system is so awesome. I have to say, and I will put this out here, and Sal, you might kill me, but I will put Match the Millennium SNK Capcom on that Neo Geo Pocket. I will put that up against the AES version of SNK Capcom, and I think it crushes it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to have to agree, because you know why? Believe it or not, that game has it more together with than I had that game. And the thing is, the game it had its shit together. But the problem was, nobody knew it existed. Everybody's playing it now. It's fucking like 2013. If you were like, wow, look at this game. I'm like, that shit was out like 1999. Like, where you been, youngster? Like, that's the whole problem with SNK. Like you said, the digital analog on the control, that shit was right off the Neo Geo CD controller. I had the Neo Geo CD when it came out, the United States version. I sold it sometime like spring of last year to one of my homeboys on YouTube. And it was a revolutionary type of controller, but they don't advertise or put their peripherals out there. It's only in Japan. It's just like, I just don't get it. I'm completely baffled at their whole entire operation and management style. Seriously, like these must be like kindergartners, like running this shit, like crayons and for contracts. You're just fucked. They just don't know what they're doing.
You know what? Because the Neo Geo Pocket Color actually had a lot of third-party support, like from Sega, Capcom. Yeah. They actually had their first Sonic game on a non-Sega hardware was on the Neo Geo.
Even if you look at the Dreamcast had support for the Neo Geo Pocket Color.
Yeah, it did. That fucking confused the hell out of me. I was like, SNK and Sega. Like, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I got to jump in because, that is you guys, I had the Neo Geo Pocket. You have a Dreamcast. You buy Capcom versus SNK for the Dreamcast. You buy Match the Millennium for your Neo Geo Pocket. You're playing Match the Millennium, and you can, you gather points. You take the link cable, take the points, transfer them to the Dreamcast, and then that unlocks all types of characters, backgrounds, and stuff in the freaking Dreamcast version. That was just incredible. It was incredible.
Pretty cool. See,
and once again, ahead of its time, like it fell on like nobody. Nobody utilized these things because once again, it comes down to marketing. They didn't market the system properly. Okay, don't get me wrong and all. I mean, Nintendo had the Pokemon thing, but once again, it had all these revolutionary features that just died, just never caught on because they didn't do the proper marketing to show the people that were. It's just really sad. It really makes you shed a tear in a lot of ways. It's really messed up.
Yeah, because you know what, they had a lot of marketing in Japan and all these other territories. Like, have you guys ever seen the one commercial with a young Jean-Claude Van Damme doing the Art of Fighting commercial? Where I think he's like fucking Geese Howard in that fucking thing.
Yeah.
Yo, go look it up. I mean, after this recording,
Google that shit.
Google that shit. Yo, it's Jaw Call Van Dam going to see Ryu at a dojo, and he's jumping out of a white Rolls Royce, and he has an all white suit on, and it's Jaw Call Van
Really?
Dam.
No
And
way.
I swear to God, and it's for Art of Fighting for the Neo Geo AES and MVS. It's fucking Jaw Call Van Dam. I was like, that is the coolest fucking commercial I've ever seen.
You know what I have to do?
I'm dead serious. Google that
what's
shit.
cool? I like going on YouTube and I like finding those SNK commercials that they showed in Japan.
Yeah.
Circa 1993, 94, 95. Because if I would have saw commercials like that when I came home from school, I would have shit my pants, man.
Oh, believe me. Believe me.
You know what the most popular one is? The Art of Fighting one, where you got the what you call
at the harbor.
You know, the whole.
That's
I mean that's the most used one. They got the goofy they got Yuri doing her goofy ass shit and the fake ass looking Robert.
Yeah, that one's.
So cheesy, but it was you look because you're like, oh, this looks stupid as fuck. And you're looking at the screenshot, like, wow, look at that. You know, I mean but that's advertising. You know, and even this is something Jared will definitely back up. Remember when they used to advertise SNK back in the early '90s, and even Jared, I think even today, that little brochure where it shows the games and stuff. Like they used to have a really heavy marketing campaign in the beginning, and they used to have a guy, I forget his name, who was an aggressive marketer who actually there was a lot of controversy with the ads. Like the biggest one was the 2 silver bowls, and you need a pair of these to play this system. Then calling all the other systems weenies, and the one that me just stood out. And like I tell people, they're like, oh well, Neo Geo, wasn't marketed whatever towards the whole base. How you want to market a system towards kids when your advertisement is some doofy dude in the background playing Cyberlab, and you got this scantily clad, lingerie bitch standing in the fucking front, the foreground, saying to the guy, I remember when he used to not keep his hands off of me. I'm like, that shit ain't appealing to no, I mean, it's for the teenagers, but sure shit ain't appealing to no people who could afford the system. They probably had some sticky ass pages on that thing, but they could not afford they could not afford the system because look at the people. Those people were like in their early to mid 20s. That's what the marketing was. Marketing wasn't for no little ass kids and shit. I mean, unless you were like the Royals or something, you didn't have that, and that's what it was not marketed for. And then that marketing just fucking fell. It's a shame, but. I remember when they used to market hard and all, and last marketing I've ever seen was for King of Fighters '94. That was it. And I think that might have been the last advertisement I saw.
Yeah, remember the what was his name? The Game Lord. He was like a kind of like their own little editor.
Oh, Stadakata.
Yeah. They had him, and he would lay it down like the specs. Why are you still playing a Genesis? Why are you still playing an NEC TurboGrafx or Super Nintendo? Because look at our specs. And I remember reading those ads. I still have them. I kept them because I remember going through my magazines and reading them. Like, oh man, these guys! Oh my god! And I used to kind of resent. I resented them. I was kind of like, what the hell? Screw this Neo Geo. Oh well, yeah, it has a whole lot of egg. I was like jealous.
You're like, fuck him. I wish I had that.
Yeah, definitely.
You know who actually said that? Who was that? Mark from Classic Game Room when he got the Neo Geo MVS into his thing. He's like, I secretly hated Neo Geo, but I secretly wanted it. And I was like, damn, dude. It's like, that's how it made you so angry that it was so out of your league that you just got mad at it. You just be throwing shit and. They'd have to put you on Adderall or some shit to fucking calm your ass down because you were just mad because your parents couldn't just walk and just buy it. I remember seeing the system in the store, like Toys R Us in Katy City that we used to have here in Philly and stuff, and it just made you mad. It was just because you knew you had something for the home system, and I had all the ports for the Super Nintendo, I believe. I don't know if you had them, Jared, but I had a lot of the ones that were made by Takara, and they sucked. I mean, they were. I mean, some of them were alright, but for the majority, they were just They were
No.
just awful.
No way. Yeah, I have Fatal Fury still for my Mega Drive, and it was just like, man, really? But I still like it. It's part of my childhood, you know. I still like the game, but I mean, you can't compare it.
Okay,
The
now.
best, I think the best sport, honestly, is probably what World Heroes 2. I think that was a pretty damn good port.
That was good.
I mean, other than that, most of them were just like, yeah, it was like a nice try, but that's about it. Like A+ for effort, but F for execution type of thing. It's like, you know, it was just the way it is, and you know, but it's a shame though what's really going on with it. But we're like not including Rock over there. So what's up, Rock?
Oh no, that's fine. No, so when you when okay, so everybody knows that when the Neo Geo came out, it was $600. Tell the people what do what did you get for that $600 for that extremely large price tag that you guys keep talking about, and just like what came with it. Was there different SKUs of the system, or was it just one?
I remember there was 2 levels. Basically, you got the gold system. You got you got 2 controllers. You got, of course, the unit. I believe it came with composite cables, and I think you had your choice of games. Sal. I think you had your choice of either Baseball Stars or Magician Lord. I remember Magician Lord. And you got that.
I remember it was like either Baseball Stars or Fatal Fury, and then they changed it up to like Magician Lord or Fatal Fury, some goofy shit like that.
Yeah, and just imagine, $649, I think, $649.99 that thing retailed for.
Wow.
It's nuts. Like I just think that like, what do you get for $650? I'm like, man, a whole lot of debt, because it's you got a lot, but you know what? To be honest with you, you got a true arcade machine in your home. That's the only thing I can really say. There is no system that can ever bring you the true arcade experience like that system. And to be honest with you, like, that's the problem. The cost of it, I think about it between 1990 and now, the cost technically you think is fair, because for what you were getting at that time. Because you think about right now, PlayStation 3, when that shit came out, that was like $500-$600. Okay, the games weren't that much, but the cost of the system and everything and what you got for it, the game, the 2 controllers, and things of that nature, you didn't have to get a limited edition set or anything like that. You actually did get a lot for your money, though. The only problem is that buying the games for it and all was the problem. The system itself, believe it or not, I have to admit, I think it was actually fair. I'm going to have to admit that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sal.
I have to be, and you know what the funny part is? People say, how did SNK come up with that price point? And people don't realize that actually SNK did a survey to people before they released that system to the actual consumers. They used to have them shits in you can rent it in Neo Geo. I remember when they used to have signs where you can rent that shit. They used to have it in hotels, bar chains, things like that, where people can play it. And SNK went around and asked people, how much would you pay? Do you think you'd spend $500-$600? People were like, yeah, absolutely. And people went for that price, and I think the price is fair. The only problem is that the games were what really killed it. The system itself, I think, was more than fair, because considering what you got, the 2 controllers, I even think it came with a memory card, didn't it? Because I know mine did, but I think it was included with it too. So, and the memory card itself was something revolutionary, because PlayStation 5 years later would come out with that, and people were like, ooh, look at this magical fucking brick that I have in my hands. And that shit was done, years prior, and it goes to show it was ahead of its time. The problem with the system was that the games were just way too much at least, and $200 could not be justified for a lot of the early releases, because you beat them in like one sitting, and you're like, all right, I'm done, and then you just cry because you spent like $200-something on this, and
Sal,
you're like, well, where's my value?
Sal, you know what? Speaking of some of the games, one of the games that I own, I really hate it. To be honest with you, I mean, to me, it's just a really fucked up game, because I don't know how to. It seems like I don't know how to play it, but it's like I'm not retarded. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying anything against mentally.
Wait for the tests.
Yeah, but
No,
it's called 3 Count Bout. That fucking game. You can. It's like unplayable.
Well,
That game, it's a wrestling game. I hated wrestling games.
To me, I actually like wrestling games. I have nothing against them.
yeah.
It's just that one. It's like it's so fucking hard to control.
You
Like,
know
what
what
are
it
you
is?
doing in that?
The problem is I just got 3 about me about a few months ago because I actually never owned it. I got picked up for like $40 or something. And the problem with the game is that it's a fucking button masher. And the problem though is that you're gonna wind up with carpal fucking tunnel syndrome trying to get some of the moves out because the problem with the Neo Geo stuff is for games that you need tapping on that, it doesn't have a turbo button. And because it's a quarter muncher, the computer's always going to beat you. There's no way you're going to beat the computer. And you're not going to have the speed of the computer. And that's what makes that game such a shit game. The graphics and sound are actually pretty damn good. You got death matches not death matches, but round matches and stuff like that. And throw people in the...
Hello, Jared, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I don't know if we may have lost Sal though.
Oh,
His
Sal.
icon just went up. I hope not.
Oh, you might have dropped. Oh, all right. Well, I don't know. I guess this will be it for the show. I mean,
Yeah.
since Sal's gone, I mean, we're running pretty long on time, but today was a pretty good episode.
Great.
It was great. So, just want to say thank you guys for hanging on with us, and I'll speak for Sal. Thanks for listening, and please go check his channel out. He's one of my friends. I'll try and link his channel to the page, and I'll link Jarrett's also. And just want to say, thank you guys for listeners because without you guys, I mean, we wouldn't be doing this. So, any closing words, Jarrett?
No, I just want to say, it was great talking with you guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed us reminiscing about the Neo Geo and some of the great games, and hope you had a good time. Hope you enjoyed it, and great questions, PC. Really, really good. So, it's good.
All right. Well, this is PC, and this is Jarrett, and we're signing off.